So this guy, his name's Billy, and Billy is about to unalive a whole lot of old people. Now, Billy is nobody special. He's kind of a turd who works odd jobs here and there. He's a caregiver, he's a maintenance worker. But one day, something changes in Billy, and he snaps, and he decides he wants to make his money in a different way. And Billy knows a lot about elderly people, because he's worked in a lot of care facilities and retirement communities as a caregiver or as a maintenance person. And Billy knows that these old people often have jewelry and family heirlooms just lying around. So he comes up with a plan to target some retirement communities and loot some of these places to make a few bucks. Also, he's gonna murder some people. Now, his plan works like this. He's going to go to a retirement community and scope out a resident who he thinks might be a good target, likely a woman. Then he'll pretend to be a maintenance worker and he'll knock on their door and ask them if they need any work done. And when they let him inside, bam, that's when he'll overpower them and he'll smother them with a pillow until they're unalived. Then he'll rob them of their jewelry and he'll put their body back on the bed to make it look like the person just passed away from old age. It's a crazy plan. So then Billy, he goes to a nearby retirement community and he knocks on someone's door. And this woman opens it. She's 87. And then, boom, Billy overpowers her and he suffocates her with a pillow. And then he steals a bunch of her jewelry and valuables. And then he goes to a pawn shop and he pawns them. The next month, he does the same thing to a 91-year-old woman in the same retirement community. So then, bro just keeps going, and boom, he unalives another one, a 94-year-old woman. But this time, he gets caught by police in the area and arrested for trespassing. So once he gets out of jail, he just continues his plan. He goes to a different retirement community, and he starts unaliving people there. He unalives an 82-year-old woman, he unalives another 82-year-old woman, an 83-year-old woman, an 86-year-old woman, an 89-year-old woman, and of course, afterwards, he's taking all their shit and he's pawning it. Then, the week after that last murder, he comes back, and bam, he unalives an 87-year-old woman. Then, the week after that, he unalives a 92-year-old woman. And here's the thing, no one is held responsible for these murders because no one is reporting them as murders. Because these are elderly women, so when their bodies are discovered, people just assume that they died in their sleep of natural causes. And from what I read, if you suffocate someone with a pillow, their death appears as if they had a heart attack. I guess the signs end up looking the same. And unfortunately, when someone of that age, an older age, dies, they don't typically do a full autopsy on them. So this allows Billy to get away with murder over and over again. It's really sad. I mean, this whole video's sad. Anyway, then, about 2 weeks after that last murder, at that same retirement community, someone notices him. And they approach him and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And Billy's like, I'm a maintenance guy. I'm here to work on some pipes." And they ultimately let him leave. But he's starting to realize that people around there are getting suspicious of him. So what does he do? He chills for a while. But then about a year later, he just moves on to the next retirement community to start all over again. And at this new place, he unalives a woman. I don't know her age. But 2 weeks after that, he unalives another woman, a 90-year-old woman. But then 6 weeks later, Billy finally slips up. He knocks on the door of this 93-year-old woman's apartment. And I don't know her name, so we'll just call her Gertrude. So Gertrude opens up the door and Billy goes through his normal routine. He tells her he's the maintenance guy and he asks her if she needs any maintenance work done. And Gertrude's like, nah. But then, before she can close the door, kaboom, Billy busts in and he knocks her to the ground. And then he grabs a pillow and he covers her face with it until she runs out of air. And then he grabs her jewelry box and he just flees the scene. Here's the thing though. When Billy was smothering Gertrude with that pillow, she knew she wasn't strong enough to overpower him. So she just stopped moving and she starts playing dead. So Gertrude is still alive. And after Billy takes her jewelry box and leaves, she crawls over to her emergency alert button and she presses it and she alerts the police. And so police come over and unfortunately she really isn't able to give them enough details about him for them to identify the suspect. So unfortunately, Billy gets away with it again. Until So this string of murders continues, and Billy targets another retirement community, and he unalives an 84-year-old woman, and then he unalives a 79-year-old woman, and then a 93-year-old woman, and an 81-year-old woman. Then he targets some other places and some other women in their own homes. A 90-year-old woman, an 81-year-old woman, a 75-year-old woman, an 88-year-old woman. And he just keeps going, unaliving more elderly women and pawning their stuff. And he seems to be making quite a bit of money off this. But then he screws up again. One day, Billy knocks on the door of this woman's apartment. Her name's Mary. And Mary answers the door, and suddenly, kaboom, Billy forces his way in, and he yells at her, "Lie down!" And she's scared, so she does. And Billy, he grabs a pillow, and he gets on top of her, and he starts suffocating her. And Mary, she passes out. She's unconscious. But once she stops moving, Billy thinks she's dead. So he grabs her jewelry box and he flees the scene. Sometime later, a friend stops by to see Mary, and she sees that Mary's lying on the floor, not moving. So she calls 911, and paramedics show up and they revive her. And when Mary eventually reports all this to the police, she is able to give them a description of Billy. And they're able to link him to his car, which about a month before had been seen near one of the murder scenes. So now, kapow, police have a suspect. But they're not quite quick enough, because the day after Billy had attacked Mary, he goes out looking for his next victim. And unfortunately, he finds her in a local Walmart. A little 80-year-old woman named Lou T. So Lou T is at this Walmart, and Billy approaches her, and I guess they interact, and that is the last time anyone sees her. And it is presumed that he followed her home that day. Because later that day, Billy goes into her apartment and he unalives her too. And he takes her jewelry box. But that same day, since Billy is a suspect, police have started staking out his home. And soon, Billy gets home from, I assume, unaliving Lou T, and he's still got her jewelry box that he stole. And I guess he had taken all the valuables out of it because he ends up throwing that box in the dumpster. And police see him throwing that box in the dumpster, and bam, they go and they arrest him. Here's his mugshot. And they end up digging that jewelry box out of the dumpster, and inside it, they find a piece of paper with Lou T's name on it. So police go over to Lou T's apartment about 10 miles away, and there, inside the place, they find her, unfortunately, unalived. And so police start to connect all the dots with Mary's case, and they start looking into hundreds of deaths in the area to see if maybe Billy had been responsible. And it's hard for police to ultimately know exactly how many elderly people Billy unalived because, again, so many deaths of people that age were initially thought to be from natural causes. Regardless, they ultimately charge Billy with unaliving 18 people, and he ends up getting life in prison. But then, after that, at some point, while he's in prison, his cellmate stabs him and he dies. So,